Brian Grimes, your real estate mentor, back with another action-packed session. Tonight, we're going to be talking about how many houses it takes to retire from the 9 to 5. So if you've been thinking about leveraging real estate as a way to get out of the hustle and bustle, make sure you stick around. I'm going to answer a lot of questions about how many houses it takes, depending on which strategy. Sometimes, people say you need one commercial building. Some people say you need, 50 single families or X amount of multifamily, triplexes, quadplexes. I'm going to break down an exact number for you guys, depending on where you're at. If you're new to the channel, like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment that says I subscribe, share the content with someone who you want to get value. Of course, if you want to tap into our 24/7 cash flow community, you can always click the link in the description or DM me. If you're on IG, just DM me cash flow and we'll kind of send that right over to you. We have our next real estate ride along tour Saturday, May 31st in Philly. So a lot of people will be joining me there, investors from across the country. If you want to tap in and learn the game hands-on, do that. And of course, we have the Boots on the Ground program where we find finance, rehab, tenant, and managed properties for you. That always has limited availability. I believe we might be maxed out for this month, but we have some spots open for next month. So just reach out and ask about that. Guys, let's get into it. And if you're joining me tomorrow night, we have a live training at 7. Definitely we're going to go a little bit deeper on some of these topics on that live training, but I want to give you guys like a high level overview. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat section, drop them in the comment section, and we'll keep flowing through this. Somebody says, what's the age limit? I'm not sure if you mean the age limit for the ride along or for retiring from the 9 to 5 real estate, but you can expound upon that question. So let's get into it. So the first thing you want to focus on is like your freedom talk. So you need to understand, in order to know how many properties you need, what your freedom number is. And that's different for everyone. That's like the pure wealth equation. And a lot of people don't know what the wealth equation is, in my opinion. Let me just see what question came through. There we go. A lot of people don't know what their wealth number is. Your wealth number is this: freedom, financial freedom equals passive income. When your passive income is greater than your expenses. When your passive income is greater than your expenses, you have financial freedom. That number is different for different people and at different stages in life. When I was first getting started, I leveraged my real estate because I wanted to have cash flow pay off my student loans. That was why I initially got into the game, which I think is a good enough motivator. But my wealth number, like my expenses as a 25, 27-year-old kid at the time, is like a couple grand a month, $3,000 a month. So my freedom number, if I could get enough properties to get over that, I didn't have to work a 9 to 5 anymore. I could pretty much just coast, keep saving, keep stacking, and doing whatever I was currently doing to get me properties. So look at your expenses. If your monthly expenses are 4K, that's the number you need to hit. I've seen a lot of people come in with extremely high numbers, and a high number, like in terms of goal setting, if you set a goal that is so unobtainable or that you're not going to be happy at all until you achieve it, and it's so big and it's going to take you so long, or it looks insurmountable, you just won't get started. So a lot of us are setting unrealistic numbers. Like I hear numbers, hey, a year or two, I got to see like 50K a month. And it's like, bro, you make 3K a month right now. Why do you need to see 50K a month in 2 years? I get it. And there's nothing wrong with having good goals, but you want to set goals that are achievable, because you climb a little higher, you see a little further. Also, when it comes to real estate investing, your true number is lower than you think, because a lot of people are thinking in terms of salary. Hey, if I get paid 40K, 50K a year, or 5K, 6K a month, I make 125,000. That's my salary. Well, what do you get paid after taxes? When they take those taxes out, how much do you have left every month? That's the real number that you're competing with when you're dealing with real estate investing. Because with real estate investing, the taxation, especially with buy and hold real estate, is extremely low to like no taxation because of the amount of depreciation and bonus depreciation that you can get out of these assets. So you really need about, depending on your state and how you're being taxed, if you're in California, New York, you need about half of what you think. If you think you need 125, you need like 62 in cash flow. And it's going to feel equal to working at 9 to 5 and getting whatever that higher number is. So have your freedom talk together. Once you have this mindset together, okay, I'm going in to cover my expenses. That number is lower than I think. I have to get really grassroots with it. You'll be able to set an obtainable goal that you can start to chip away at. And that's kind of step one. Guys, if you're getting value, like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment that says I subscribe, share the content with someone you want to get value. If you want to tap into our 24/7 cash flow community, click the link in the description. If you're on YouTube, if you're on IG, click the link in bio or DM me cash flow and we'll send it right over. Guys, drop your questions in the chat section. We'll kind of answer them as we flow through. The next question we get is, all right, I got all that. I got my wealth number. I understand what's what. How many properties do I need? It's always the how many, because people want to know how many properties that they're going to have. And counting properties is fun when you're just getting started. It's like when I was just getting started, I counted maybe the first several hundred properties, and then after a couple hundred, I was just like, I don't really care anymore. It's not about the property. It's just about the product mix. Does it fit what I'm trying to build my portfolio into, and kind of all of those different things. But when you're starting, you just want to have that number in mind because it's easy to chip away at. What you want to think about is your average cash flow per property. Now, this number can change depending on where you're at in the country. Of course, there are markets that cash flow more than others. I would say if you're focused on the top 10 cash flow cities, you can probably still cash flow around seven on a good deal, like 700 to 800 a month on a single. On a multi, you can definitely get, and by multi I mean like a duplex, triplex. You can get into like the 1,500 a month range, maybe a couple K. If you go bigger, you can do a little bit more, but that's average per asset. So as you're chipping away at your number, you have to think about your product split, your average cash flow. I would say for me, in terms of targeting, I'm always targeting about, at least, I would say, net of all expenses, at least 400 to 500 a month. I know there are some people who will say 200 to 300 a month. I'm not in markets where that's my focus. I'm in markets where you can go after a little bit more. So I'm looking for at least around 500 a month realistically, and then more. But 400 can make sense, in my opinion, because your cash flow grows over time. The properties will appreciate in value. They will give you tax losses, and then the rental income will increase with inflation. So you will get a bit of a upside pop over the course of time. So even if you're cash flowing $400 a month on average per property today, if you go with that strategy and you march forward with that plan and you survive 10 years, or even 5 years, you're going to be now on average probably like 620 a month, 650 a month per property. So in acquiring those 10, you've given yourself now 10 ways to grab that 650 a month, 6,500 a month versus 4,000 a month or whatever you started at. So understand, rental properties are more like a plant. They grow over time than a fixed asset, than brick and mortar, even though they are brick and mortar. You can go with a conservative strategy, like I'm talking about. Section 8, buy and hold, single family, top 10 cash flow cities, affordable cities, and you can make a lot of money doing a strategy like that. I would say with a conservative strategy, you could do this, like target 500 to 800 a month in cash flow with single families. Go out and get 10 to 15 properties, 700 a month. That's going to put you in a $10,000 a month range. And most people ain't making $240,000, $250,000 a year, statistically. So that plan, that conservative plan we just mentioned, which you could pretty much execute on in about, you could do it in a year realistically if you had all of your systems firing. But for the average bear, I would say 2 to 3 years, you can acquire 10 to 15 properties, cash flowing 700 a month each, or more, and that would grow over time. And that's enough money to get out of whatever you're doing right there. You could also do high yield strategies, like there are some commercial real estate strategies. There are some assisted living facility strategies that will pay $10,000, $15,000 a month per property. So all you would have to do is go out and get one deal and set it up right. Even if that deal took you a year to establish, it instantly springboards you to $10,000, $15,000 a month. So you can go with a higher yield strategy. You could also flip. If you start flipping, once again, the average person, if you look at median incomes, maybe they're making like 60K. The average person, 60, 70K. So one flip deal, one profitable flip could net you that. So you could break free from the 9 to 5 in under a year. All you need is the knowledge of where to find deals, how to analyze deals from a construction standpoint and a cost standpoint, and how to find profit spreads, and then just connect with different deal makers, wholesalers, people in the market who are moving deals. So you can do either strategy. Some people do a mixture of both. They come in, they try to execute on a flip where they hit a flip or two, and then they buy and hold, and they kind of mix it up between a conservative and a high yield strategy. But that will, depending on your strategy that you pick, that will tell you how many. How many could be one deal if it's super high yield. It could be 10 to 15 slow and steadies over the course of a couple years, and you're not going to, pull all your hair out, that type of strategy. It could be senior assisted, living facilities or group homes. There's a bunch of different strategies, and we'll get into my favorite strategies tomorrow night on the Tuesday night training. So if you want to tap into that, just DM me free training, and I'll send you a link to that training as well. Once again, guys, if you want to tap into our 24/7 cash flow community, it's $27 to join. We don't make it free because we want action takers, and I think that's been working very well. And seeing how the community's been growing, how people are networking within the community, the different resources and relationships. Like we just had one of our community members is a broker, and he was able to conduct like a cash out refinance on a property for a boots on the ground member. The appraisal came in $35,000 higher than projected. It was insane. So turned into like a cash out situation on a rental property. And then I believe the tenant just ran straight into it. It was on the market for a week, and a tenant just jumped straight in with a voucher, and they'll probably get maxed out. It's around, let's call it about 2,500 a month on this asset that you're cash out refinancing on, not leaving any money in, and it can kick you still, $500-$600 a month. That's an incredible deal. So, if you want to tap in and kind of network with just the relationships, that's just a relationship within the community, one relationship, and there's many of them. You can click the link in the description, tap in, and just join. Get yourself educated, get yourself to the next level. Let's get into the math, guys. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat, drop them in the comment section. We have one question, and then we'll get into the math quickly. Is it possible to get a 4-unit off foreclosure? Yeah. No, absolutely. It's possible to get any deal out of foreclosure, and any deal can go into foreclosure. Commercial deals, office buildings, 4 units, 5 units, 1 unit, whatever, it can go. So, yeah, it is possible to get deals out of foreclosure depending on the stage that they're in. Let's get into the math. So the income that you need divided clearly by the average profit per deal, whether that's rental, whether that's flip. Once again, you have to put in whatever your average is based upon your strategy. That's going to give you the equation of how many houses you have. But you need to factor in things if you're on the buy and hold side. You need cash reserves. Not a lot of people talk about cash reserves. They're important. They're a part of your conservative muscle. So there's real estate investing, and then there's asset management, right? Asset management is not as much about investing. It's more about asset allocation and diversification of risk. So some portion of your portfolio should be cash, and it's there to solve problems. Now, you don't want too much of your portfolio to be cash, because then it's not getting a return. It's losing to inflation. So you have to find that balance. But your cash reserves are about having a bit of balance, and keeping some money on the side in case things go wrong. If you're doing things like the burst strategy, and you're pouring in big renovation money or doing gut renovations on most of your properties, you're going to need less cash reserves, because you'll have less things going wrong, less things breaking on average across the portfolio. So you can keep maybe $3,000 per deal up until you get to like 35K. And if you're doing this game well, there are going to be times where you're cashing out, and your average cash balance is not too low. So you always have 50K in the bank, and that's enough. Now, if you went out and had 100 houses, you wouldn't keep more than 50K set aside for reserves for those 100 houses, because on average, and with the amount of cash flow you have and liquidity you have, you can generally solve your problems. So that's kind of more of like an asset management mentality. As you're just getting started, if you're trying to go more turnkey, I would bump that number up to 6, because the heater's going to blow out in the dead of winter. the sewer line's going to collapse, this is going to, like, all of these things are going to happen to you. The electric's going to go because you didn't do a heavy enough rehab. A lot of, nonsense is going to happen. You're going to be bleeding out money back into the property. So in years 1 and 2, you're easily going to burn through 6 grand and just replacing major appliances, stoves, refrigerators, washer dryers. You're going to be replacing some stuff and fixing some leaks and solving some BS. So keep more cash reserves. If you're getting on these those are single family numbers and maybe even like duplex numbers. If you get much bigger than that, a triplex, you might want to keep like 8K, 10K per triplex, because there's just more that can go wrong. If you get into commercial, your numbers got to go way up. A lot of you want to start as commercial real estate investors because you watched somebody say it. The best way is to do this and do the 50 unit. And you're not thinking about the amount of cash reserves that you need to be able to do a 50 unit building. You're trying to run in with business credit. And the bill, it's a $5 million deal. It's a $3 million deal. Whatever it is, you need $250,000 worth of reserves. Not some business credit you raised. That's not going to cut it. Not on a deal that big. So you have to be smart about it. Starting off small is very smart. It's very intelligent. It's very conservative. And I'd rather you be conservative and win long term and take your time and then scale, because I know once you get comfortable, all of you can scale. Step one is a two-step process. Step one is get comfortable. Do a deal to understand how a deal goes. Don't necessarily worry about the pure outcome of the deal, but just do a deal to understand how a deal goes. You have a lot of questions right now. How does this work? How does that work? What about this? What about, you're going to get rid of your whatabouts by doing a deal. When you get rid of a lot of whatabouts, you feel comfortable. Now that you're comfortable, you can scale because you know about how much it costs, about how much reserves you need, about what the property management costs are. Or if you're self-managing, what that costs you in time, energy. And you're answering these things so you can scale. Once I answer a lot of these questions, now I know how much cash I need, what I need, how long the deals take, what can go wrong, or more things that could go wrong, and how they get solved, and how the city works. And you start getting more comfortable. That means there's more money in the future because you can take that knowledge and then execute upon it. So scaling, that's the math. The math works out in a very interesting way. The last thing I'll say about the math is it's exponential, not linear. The human brain is wired to think linearly. This happens, then that happens, then that happens, then that happens, and it's in a straight line. It's a straight line level of thinking. Whereas the math is actually exponential because of the scaling factor, because you could do 3 deals in the same amount of time it took you to do 1 because of scale. Just do 3 at the same time with a bigger crew and different systems. So now your timeline gets condensed because you're like, oh, it's going to take me 5 years to get 15 properties. It's going to take me 10 years to get 10 properties. But with scaling, it can scale 10 down into like 18 months with proper scale, or down into 2.5 years. Didn't even make it to 3. So very achievable with scale. Very achievable with scale. Guys, if you're getting value, like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment that says I subscribe, share the content with someone who you want to get value. If you're interested in joining our 24/7 cash flow community, DM me cash flow, click the link in the description. If you're on YouTube, click the link in bio if you're on IG. We had a couple of questions come through, and then I'll get into the mindset. We'll wrap up on mindset, which will be fun. Hey, Brian, I'll be in Philly this August, wondering where the best place is to burr houses in Philly. I would tap in. If you're not in the 24/7 cash flow community, tap in. If you're serious about doing the best burrs in Philly and kind of learning how to do that, it's $27 to tap in. But also there's a network of people who are already doing it in Philly. So it would be silly not to. And then you'll learn all the best areas in Philly, but also how to navigate other cities. Because what's funny about even that question is I just go in and get that information. Like if somebody asks me, Brian, where are you seeing the most cash flow in Arkansas? I could I could go and just go right on Redfin and just run a couple of screens. Probably take me an hour. So it's also picking up that skill set because even though we know the best places to burr houses in Philly, Philly will dry up. Philly will dry up like any other profitable city over the course of time. And then you need to be able to pack your bags and go to another profitable city to get that cash flow spread. Um, another question was, do you ever do tours of the city with subscribers? I mean, I wouldn't call them subscribe, even though many are our subscribers. They're members. Our boots on the ground members. Many of them come out and walk their own properties that they've secured through our boots on the ground program. We also have mentees that will come out and spend a day with me in Philly touring properties. We usually see about 15 houses, and I show you how they're built, and then we go in with the specific budgets and the before and after videos of the builds, so you can really see it and understand it and digest the full rehab process. Takes a lot of fear out, but oh, you're from Canada? Yeah, tap in. We've had people flying from Canada, Hawaii. Um, Africa. Like we've had people flying from everywhere to tap into these things. We had people tapping from everywhere. Chance said he just bought. I had 300K. I just bought two properties. I regret it. Why don't you tell us why you regret it? What happened? You just regret not being able to pour into like Philly or a cheaper market. I mean that happens. That's a benefit of keeping as much cash as possible as well. You got them in Mobile. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that market. There's nothing wrong with that market. Let's get into the mindset, guys. Let me see. We have one other question. And so happy you said this. People don't talk about this. Cool. Um, I think we'll get into any more questions once we wrap up the mindset. So mindset, quality versus quantity. You got to have a quality versus quantity mindset if you want to be successful long term, in my opinion. You don't need to go fast in this game, and you don't need to take on high risk. You just need to survive. It's a game of attrition. It's a game of attrition. Just by sheer survival and being around long enough to see enough things transpire across your deals or other people's deals. That's why a community is great because you can learn from somebody else's deal and then be like, okay, I guess it's not good to do that. I won't do that. Or I didn't think about that problem that they're facing now. So taking your time to get quality deals, not go too fast. Sometimes people want so much quantity that they'll cut corners to get it. They'll cut corners on their rehab. They'll overpay for deals out of anxiety. They'll buy in certain neighborhoods where for different reasons. Like they'll overpay for neighborhoods because they're afraid to get into the C class, even though that's where the extreme profits are. Like they're doing different things, not understanding the full scope of the game. Of it's better to buy and build quality in the C class than to buy, properties that need work, deferred maintenance projects in the B class for cash flow, so you can go faster. So always have a quality over quantity mindset. You if you get good at this game, you can start making serious money. When you're making serious money, you're going to be thinking about quantity because the more deals you do, the more money you can make. But it really is quality of deal that matters if you're going to do this long term. If you're going to build a portfolio that's supposed to sustain you in a retirement situation, um, you want to go for quality and you want to take your time. You just don't want to rush. A lot of people come to me, they're in a rush, and I can dig it, but long term, it's not going to matter. But your rush will matter because if you build a quantity of shitty properties, they're gonna they're gonna fight back because there's a volume to it. And now it's like you have 50 bad properties. You need to fight back. So quality is going to always support you. And most people don't choose quality anyway. Larry asked that question again. He said, "Do you appoint joint ownership deals?" I'm not sure what you mean by that question, but you can ask it again. So that's quality versus quantity. I may say I'm going to tie this last part of quality versus quantity because it's from one of my mentors and tie it into the high versus low debt, which is interesting. So I was talking to him, and he's like maybe 12 years older, but has done a lot of good stuff, right? Like a lot of very interesting types of projects. And his philosophy is, well, I just want more cash flow per asset. I mean, he's got a couple of nice brownstones, but he wants to get as much cash flow and just go at low debt because for his retirement strategy, he's like, well, I'm doing a lot of self-management. And if I'm self-managing, I want as little as possible to look out for per cash flow. So he's all about very low numbers, very high quality, and very low debt. And that's his strategy. And it makes sense from that standpoint. From the standpoint of profitability, like pure capitalism, quantity is the way to go. It's the way to go because it's much faster. You get your hands on much more assets. And if you maintain a portfolio of 1,000 properties over a 15-year period, just surviving, the debt pay down alone is like 10, $15 million just in managing it properly. 10, $15 million in value, plus the cash flow. So you have to consider your strategy. I don't know that there's a right or a wrong way. I just say, even when you're doing your quantity, focus on quality. But high versus low debt, I mean, that's all dependent because at the highest level, you get non-recourse debt. So it becomes lower than low debt because there's no recourse. So it's actually an interesting cycle. We'd have to that may be a little too advanced, but um we'll tie that in maybe on an inner circle call. So high versus low debt, you have to decide that strategy. I would overall say with high debt, low debt, just don't be afraid of debt when it comes to real estate investing. Be afraid of student loans. Student loans are bad debt. Real estate is good debt. And there's still relatively low interest rates even right now. You can turn a profit spread in the right city if you're taking your time. Passive versus active, I mean, you have to decide that in terms of your strategy. What are you trying to build? Some people, like if you're like me, I'm cool for real estate to be active and passive. I love it in all forms. I'm obsessed with the real estate, right? But you may just want real estate to be kind of passive, and then you're going to build it out differently. So you have to think about your portfolio as you're building it. What are you building? What's your brand? What do you want at the end of the day? Do you want something that's more set it and forget it? You keep a little lower debt than you otherwise would. If you're when you're very high debt, you're more active. If you're very high debt in that type of strategy where it's very high debt, low debt is more passive. Lower debt, bigger profit spreads. If you could have cash flowed 600, maybe you left more cash in it. You cash flow 850. There's just more cushion. You're always kind of cash flow positive year over year. Properties appreciating. So you have to pick that strategy. Or you mix a little bit of active. I'll be active for 5 to 10 years. I'll do flips to get the money to park in the holds. And then I'm going to kind of calm it down and just retire into the passive. And the goal for all of you is to, build your portfolio up. I mean, get to that limit of how many houses you need, tying it back to the beginning. Just get to that number, but understand that once you get to your how many houses number, what's next? I mean, take it all the way there mentally. Get past the will this work for me mentality and just take it to, well, it already worked. So you already built your 10 to 15 properties. They're all cash flowing. Maybe one's not tenanted. You had to do an eviction on them. Whatever. It's not really going to matter at that level. But they're all primed to cash flow, property management in place, slow and steady. The next level is you're just going to do more deals. You're going to do 20, then 30, then 40. For all of you, I mean, this is obtainable. All you have to do is get to the first level. The natural progression of doing 10 to 15 deals is that you will do another 10 to 15. That's the natural progression. So you really only have to do the hard work once, because the work that it takes to get to even that level of 10 to 15 properties in any format, that's even through the boots on the ground. That's even through, like, it's through any format. Just getting your hands on that and being a part of that and being an owner of that and in a position to maintain that. Your natural progression is going to be to do another 10 to 15 because it's a rhythm. It's not a light switch you can turn on and off so quickly. Once you scale up to that level, you'll have momentum that pushes you. Even if you try to stop, it would push you into another 5 deals just out of rhythm. But that's how many houses it takes to retire. So you decide how long you want to take, what your strategy is, what your path is. If you're going to go alone, if you're going to um, tap into a community, if you're going to maybe just be like, get a done for you serve, whatever it is, however you get in. There's a lot of ways to get into real estate. I think in any event, in any way you get in, you want to own it. You want to be the owner. You want to call the shots. A lot of you have worked for people for a long time. You've put in work. You've listened to others. This is an opportunity to be your own boss. Call your own shots. And, a part of that is just being the owner. Just be the owner. Do it outright. A lot of you think you need partners. You don't need a partner either. You can do it. Think, oh, I'll get a partner, they'll take half. You could do it. You could take the whole. So let me see. We have a couple more questions. Guys, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat section. Drop them in the comment section. We're going to answer some of these. We had a bunch of questions come through. Okay, I hold the cash reserves. I could have bird 25 properties. Yeah. With 300K, you could have legitimately bird, I want to say at least 15, but that's just if you have an average run. If you catch a couple of big winners, which is very possible in this market with inflation pushing pricing up. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer that properties are going to be selling for more in even 2 years, or even a year than they are now. So the appreciation is kind of built in. You could have a hell of a run with 300K, an insane run with the right strategy. Instead of buying turnkey. Yeah, buying turnkey, it's the lesson. I mean, you're kind of giving the lesson that I talk about. There's only 2 strategies. Park and cash, which is what I started off doing, which is what most of us start off doing. We take our money, we park it in turnkey investments. And then I've told you guys, I looked at it because I was so broke when I started, and I was like, if I do this, I'm going to go so slow, it's going to be crazy. Park it in cash, no matter how much cash you have, you're going to run out with that strategy. You're going to run out and then you have to reload. And it's a slow process. So the burst strategy is what allows you to scale. It's a high debt strategy, but it's very high tax write-off. I could have done a better way. Yeah, you could have done a better way, but you live and you learn. What is this question? Is it necessary to register your LLC with the states we invest in? Yeah. You want to at least do your foreign registration on these states. So that's just like domesticating it. But that's an easy process. $50 form. I have 2 properties right across from the Lux. Gentrification stopped in 19121. Not necessarily. Um, Not from what I've been seeing actually, because that's brewery town. I'm starting to see gentrification damn near in Charwood, which is kind of like shocking. Yeah, there's a lot of scam contractors out there. A lot of scam contractors you have to watch out for. Once that train gets rolling, it grows exponentially. Absolutely. Once you get the ball rolling on your deal flow, it really just exponentially grows, in my opinion. You get the ball rolling and you'll just fall into more deals. You'll just fall your way into more deals. So, guys, hope that helped. If you guys want to tap in with me tomorrow night, just DM me free training. I'll send you over the link to that. If you want to tap into the 24/7 cash flow community, click the links in the description. Like, comment, subscribe, share the content with somebody who you want to get value. And I'll see you guys who are already rocking with me in the 24/7 cash flow community. I'll see you guys on Wednesday, and I'll see some of you on Tuesday, I'm sure. And yeah, let's just link up. But this is how you guys got to get it done. These are the steps that you need to take if you want to get to an early retirement through real estate. I've seen many people do it, so I know you guys can get this done too if it's something that you want to do. Brian Grimes, your real estate mentor. I'll see you guys on the next one.